Hey guys, what's going on? It's Gail right here, back on the 5-9 channel, and today with me I have Taistra to cover some very important news on your screen right now, of course. But before that, Taistra, say hello.
What is up, my dudes?
Hey, there we go. So, as you can see on your screens right now, for Sonic the Hedgehog 2, of course, the first movie, quite a bit of a surprise shock of a movie to come out. I mean, we didn't expect it to be as good considering how bad the first trailer was, you know, the original one with the horrible Sonic CG and stuff like that. This first movie had some resounding success, and of course with Sonic the Hedgehog 2, we knew that of course Tails was going to be part of it, there was going to be Knuckles, obviously the Chaos Emeralds would potentially start coming in, and we've got our first piece of information here. We've got Jason Momoa, has been offered the role of Knuckles' voiceover. Taistra, how do you feel about this?
Honestly, I feel like it's a really good decision, and the reason being is that we've seen Jason kind of take on those types of roles, especially with Aquaman, giving him a much needed facelift in that sense when it comes to the character. And it feels right in my opinion. It feels like he would be one of the top contenders for that role. So I definitely will say that as him being the voice actor for Knuckles, if he takes the offer, I'm not gonna complain. I think it's a wonderful choice.
Yeah, I think it's a surprise to me personally because I don't know, I didn't think who was gonna be Knuckles, to be honest. In my opinion, I wasn't still thinking of Knuckles, to be honest. I was thinking more long term in terms of who Shadow is going to be and everything, but the more I think about it and the more I see Jason Momoa, I think it's actually, like you said, you know, it fits him really well. He's got that serious nature to him. We've seen it in Game of Thrones and we've seen it in Aquaman as well, and all of his other roles he's done as well. But he can also be that jokey nature, which he will potentially be after Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which is also very important to consider, right? Because a role shouldn't just be for, especially when you're trying to build a universe like Sonic the Hedgehog, you don't want it to be just like a one and done situation. You want to make sure the character can also proceed to do it in the other films where his character may develop and change over time, right? And I think this is one of those cases. Of course, obviously the game that the next movie might consider taking some inspiration from is obviously going to be Sonic the Hedgehog 3, where we saw Knuckles' first introduction, if I'm not mistaken, right, Tristra?
Yes, I believe it was Sonic the Hedgehog 3 where we first saw Knuckles come in. So yeah, it's probably going to base around the story of that. But again, as we saw with Sonic the Hedgehog, the first movie, while it did have elements from the games, it's completely own, like, different type of story in essence. So I'm thinking that it's probably going around, like, trying to make sure that it kind of stagnates, or not stagnates, but takes its time with bringing in characters, especially since, you know, with the Sonic universe, we have so many characters like Shadow, you know, SBO, and all those other characters, you know, Big the Cat even. So yeah. I could definitely see that this movie is going to center, you know, building that relationship between Sonic and Tails, Sonic and Knuckles, and then maybe later on with the next movie, we're going to see, you know, Shadow, Rogue, and all sorts of different other characters that are going to fit into this universe.
Yeah, but of course, one thing I will also admit is that we have to remember that in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Knuckles had a slightly different role to what he is right now, which is as one of Sonic's teammates. Let's leave it at that, I guess. I could call him a sidekick, but that's more Tails' role, if anything.
Right.
Of course, in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, if I'm, again, not mistaken, it's been a while since I've played that game, but it is obviously an origin story for technically Knuckles, if anything, is, of course, he was serving as the guardian of the Master Emerald, of course, a huge gemstone that controls the Chaos Emeralds, of course, and in the game itself, he was an antagonist to Sonic at that point initially because of the fact that he thought Sonic was taking the Chaos Emeralds and whatnot, right? And after that, he of course becomes a friend and sort of like semi-rival as well. Do you think Jason Momoa will be able to pull off that villain role, quote unquote? Of course, a misguided villain, if anything, but do you think he can pull it off?
Oh, absolutely. Like, take for example his, you know, like Aquaman. Like, look how he did with Aquaman in the Justice League. He was very, you know, reserved, you know, badass, obviously,
Yep.
as we see him in these movies. Um, but you could tell he had a certain level of intensity, and it's not just that movie. It's in many of his other roles as well. He's shown that he has that intensity, and he has, that ability to come off like an absolute threat. And with Knuckles being initially that threat to Sonic right off the bat, we're definitely going to see that power struggle between the two. But obviously, we all know like what happens in the end. I just want to see how Jason's going to go about it with the Knuckles character, if he's going to take that same approach that he did with Aquaman, or if he's going to spice it up a little bit and go a little different with it, and how that's going to relate in correlation with how they become a unit. Obviously it's going to have to center around Eggman or something along those lines, but it's something to think about. I think that he could definitely pull it off, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting. Of course, also Momoa hasn't done that many voiceover roles in animation previously. It's one of his first major roles, arguably, right? So it's going to be very, very interesting, to say the least, as to how it's going to perform. My curiosity comes in as to how they're going to implement everything, because technically Sonic the Hedgehog 2 will probably be the first time we see, or the first time Sonic and Tails probably meet each other. We still don't know their relationship and why Tails is searching for Sonic in the first place, right? So it's going to be very interesting to see like how they're going to make sure all of these storylines kind of come together in one movie, because technically Sonic meeting Tails was its own thing in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and then of course in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was the first time we saw Knuckles. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they'll mesh all these storylines. Do you think it might have been better to save Knuckles for maybe the third movie instead? Or do you think it's fine to try and mesh all of these storylines together potentially?
The unfortunate thing is that if they would have like spaced it out even more than technically they're already doing, I could honestly see a lot of people losing interest. And the reason why I say that is because, especially since Tails and Knuckles are so synonymous with Sonic now, that they're in every game he's in, regardless of anything. I would say that right now having Tails and Knuckles gives a certain dynamic that's going to work with this movie. I would not have wanted them to focus on just Sonic and Tails and their storyline, because there's not really, in my opinion, much to go off of, except for maybe an origin story of how, Sonic and Tails like first became friends. But after the success of how the story went with the first one, I don't think they want to do origin stories. I don't think they want to do that just yet. I think that they want to just kind of go full speed ahead and be like, okay, we could still space it out, but keep core members ready to go. So This is definitely the perfect opportunity to introduce both Tails and Knuckles, because you could have that character relationship between Sonic and Tails building while they're also trying to, combat against Knuckles and by the end befriend him as an ally. So it makes sense, especially with how much time and screen time that both those characters are going to have in this movie.
Of course, yeah, no, I completely agree with that, of course. But the one thing I will say about all of this, we're gonna wrap it up now, I think, is that I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. Jason Momoa has been known to being a very good actor in terms of, like we've mentioned throughout this video, in these sort of roles. I think he'll thrive in that sort of sturdy voice and a serious personality that Knuckles can have, especially in the context of what this movie might be, of course, with the whole theme of Knuckles thinking that Sonic might be stealing the Master Emerald and so on and so forth. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they're gonna go from this movie onwards. I know it's a bit I'm going a bit too far and thinking like, oh, what's gonna happen in the third movie and the fourth movie, but it kind of is going in that direction where they want to try and introduce this universe where we're gonna potentially see Shadow, Rogue, Big the Cat, of course, SPO, Vector, and other characters, Silver maybe, and Blaze as well.
Heck, even Metal Sonic at that point.
Metal Sonic as well, yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of things that is going to be leading off of this movie, I feel, because the first movie was a general setup movie, right? So I'm gonna be very curious to see how they're gonna split up into maybe like, are we gonna first see SP, or are we gonna go straight into Shadow maybe, or are we gonna go into something else entirely for a bit, like Tystra said, of course, while we are kind of now used to these big cinematic universes, arguably you can't apply that to Sonic really well, because while it has a lot of characters, they're all connected to each other really heavily, whereas Iron Man and Spider-Man can be their own thing for a couple of movies and then they can come back for Avengers or something, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, let us know down in the comments below, though. What do you guys think of this casting decision? Do you guys have anybody else in mind who could have potentially taken the Knuckles role? Do you think this is the perfect role for Knuckles as well? Or this is the perfect voice actor for Knuckles as well? And let us know your thoughts on how the movie is going to go, maybe. You guys might have some good storylines that may work out and may happen even in the movie, and may already be scripted out. Who knows? But thank you so much for joining me for this video, Taisha. We will be keeping you guys up to date on any further news we get, both Sonic and just general media related information, of course. It's been your host, Gale Wright. We'll see you guys next time. Catch you guys later.
Later, guys.